Fun fact, I was actually a radio DJ back in the Philippines. I did that as I was finishing high school and kind of, supplemented my income. So the side hustle gig was kind of like, it just became second nature to me.
Do you remember how much you were earning as a CNA and then as an RN in that home?
I do, because I have that same first paycheck. It was my first paycheck from the States, so I have it saved. It was $10.72.
Wow.
An hour, yeah.
Gosh, that's painful.
2013, yeah. A little less than 2 years until I finally got a hospital job, and it was not within the city. I had to go to the suburbs for somebody to, hey, hire me. I have this experience. It didn't take me long to break six figures once I got to a couple years where I got into this hospital.
Wow.
Shifting the mindset of I have to do this to I get to do this really changed it up for me. Like, I had access to all these things. It's just that no one teaches you that you do have access to that.
What is up, guys? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel in our series, Nurses to Riches, The Road to Fire. Over the years, I've gotten several questions from nurses trained overseas who want to move and get licensed in the United States. Well, in this video, we're going to be speaking with a nurse who got his bachelor's degree in nursing in the Philippines and moved to the US. He's here to talk to us about his journey and how he ended up going from working as a CNA in a nursing home to a PIC nurse in one of the largest hospital systems in the country, and now a coach for nurses wanting to grow and monetize themselves on social media. So with that, Jumer, tell us where you're from and why you decided to become a nurse.
Absolutely, Jason. I have been a nurse for a little over 10 years now. I think it's 11. It just flew by so fast. I started out in a nursing home, a skilled nursing facility. And what a lot of people don't realize is that that's a common route for a lot of foreign educated immigrant nurses to go through and start with. So I did that, and then I found my way into a hospital where I gained, most of my knowledge in acute care, and then I packaged all that and found my way into CVICU, which really, really tremendously opened up my passion for critical care. And then now I am a full-time PIC nurse, and this is something that I could see myself doing, for the next 10, 15 years. It's fantastic.
Cool. All right. So now let's go back to your past, okay? I'm guessing you're Filipino.
Yes, I am. Yes, you guessed that right.
Okay, you said
Is your wife Filipino, by the way?
She is.
I can't zoom it in, but I can see some clues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She is. She definitely is. She actually moved to the United States when she was 11 years old.
Okay.
I moved to the U.S. when I was 5, so I grew up in I was born in the Dominican Republic. Yeah. So I want to know, were you born in the Philippines and then moved to the U.S.?
Absolutely, I was. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I moved here when I was 19. I just turned 32 last month, and the journey has been incredible. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it was a struggle to assimilate at 19 years old, uprooting your life. I finished college at 19, by the way. Wow. So it is a common thing to finish college a little bit earlier, because at the time, we didn't have that K-12 program. And you would basically just kind of, get thrown into college and then take the boards. I graduated high school, I think, around 16, so 17, 18, 19, 20.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like 15, yep, yeah. So it is a common thing, and it was perfect timing, because at that time, they were trying to get me, to immigrate before I turned 21. So I finished my boards, I got my license, and then it was just a matter of time until I sat for the NCLEX here.
Now, I know this might be a weird question, but why have a Filipino accent?
You're not the first person. Even my husband thinks that the same thing. And I'm like, sometimes I lapse into it, and he'll be like, no, you don't. And I'm like, I just said something really weird. Fun fact, I was actually a radio DJ back in the Philippines. I did that in high school, not in high school. I did that as I was finishing high school and kind of, supplemented my income. So the side hustle gig was kind of like, it just became second nature to me.
I see.
Yeah.
So have you always spoken English?
I learned pretty well. I knew that when I was, going to graduate college that I was going to move. So I wanted to set myself up for success, as easy as possible to assimilate, to, blend in, because at that time, it was easier for me at the time to do that route and blend in.
I see. So how long did you do radio DJing for?
Oh my goodness, about 2 years. And then clinicals kicked in, and it was just tough to juggle all that at the same time.
So you were doing the DJing, the radio stuff while you were in school?
While I was in nursing school. And what most people don't realize is that nursing school in the Philippines, we do clinicals in different times, different shifts. Like, you couldn't be just like, 1 month of, clinicals in the ICU for days, day shift. But then over there, it could mean that you're doing didactic for like 3 days on days. And then you could be nights, and then the next day you could be days. It's insane. So in between, I found that I could do it, but it was just not sustainable.
I see. So you gave that up, and then you went on to continue with nursing school.
Absolutely.
And how long did it take you to complete your nursing program over there?
My bachelor's took 4 years. We don't have associates or anything like that. It was a choice of being a nursing assistant or a nurse. Nothing, not much in between. Yeah. Yeah.
And how much did it cost you?
Oh my goodness. It was cheaper to fly to the States than, let me rephrase that. It was easier and cheaper and economical to, visit family here than maybe a whole entire degree.
I see.
Versus,
so you mean
finishing
actually,
here.
So it was cheaper to come here, or was it cheaper to pay for the degree than to come here?
Both.
Okay, so how?
No, so I think my nursing degree, my bachelor's was like maybe $5,000.
In your entire bachelor's degree?
Exactly.
Wow.
And I have a lot of cousins and family members that send their kids to the Philippines to finish nursing school, so they don't have any student loans. And I'm pretty blessed to be, one of those.
So did you go to school with a lot of students who were from the U.S. and their parents had sent them over there?
Absolutely. And I am still in touch with them. They flew back to the States every 3 months, maybe, just because, like, at that time, how much were economy tickets? Like 600, 400. And this was like 10 years ago. So
where in the Philippines was this?
In Davao, which is in Mindanao, the southernmost part. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who's married to a Filipina from Davao. And they have a YouTube channel. They stopped posting for a while now, but they have like 72,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel.
Wow.
I was like, why don't you monetize this?
Exactly.
And he just said, I don't know. I feel like he loves filming himself and his family, but he just hates editing the videos. I said, just hire a video editor and you have your problem solved.
Totally understand that. Yeah. At some point you have to outsource when you grow big.
Yeah. And they did more like family vlogging type of stuff because he's white, he's Caucasian, and she's Filipina. So, it's like it's a cool mix, and people can relate to that. So especially Filipinos who move to the US, that's often the case. And I told him, this would be an easy way to monetize, especially because he'd be speaking with nurses that are moving from the Philippines to the US.
Right.
So maybe he could help mentor them on their process to moving to the US. But I guess he just didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's trying to figure out another way to like retire early. And it's just like, you had the platform, you could have used it.
Exactly. You double down on what works.
Yeah,
that's how success works, is that what works well, double down on it. Yeah. You don't have to like keep expanding, because it's going to happen.
Absolutely. So you said 10 years ago is when you moved to the US?
Mm-hmm. About 11 now. Yeah.
11 now.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated about 11 years ago from my nursing program, also BSN. But where did you move to? What state and what city?
Oh man, imagine moving from a tropical, humid climate directly to Madison in Wisconsin. Yeah. I was there for 3 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I lived with my brother. Like, every Filipino family is an extended family. So imagine cramming 5, 6 people in there. At the time, my nieces were like 11 and 5. And it was just like, it's chaotic fun, but it was economical, it was practical. And it just humbles you and really grounds you to see how far you've come in life. And I think sharing this story is truly inspirational to a lot of nurses that, start out, that Filipino nurses for that matter, that start out kind of like the same route that I did.
Yeah. So can you explain to me what the process was, if you still remember, of finishing your degree, your BSN in the Philippines, and then applying to become a resident or like transferring your license over here to the US. How was the process? Like, what steps did you have to take to do that?
So when it was 2003, it was my brother and my sister-in-law that moved to the States first. My sister-in-law is a nurse and still is a nurse. She's a nurse manager now. But that opened up the doors for my mom to be petitioned. And then when I, finally was getting to the age of 21, well, not 21, because then I couldn't move if I turned 21.
Oh.
So they call it as a dependent. So as my mom, I think at the time she only had to live here for like 2 years. So then that was up. And then she petitioned me, and at the time I was 19. And it was just like I mentioned earlier, it was perfect timing that I could finish my bachelor's, my school, get licensed there, and then all I had to do was basically move, sit for the NCLEX, and then find a job.
So did you have to take the NCLEX over there, or did you take the NCLEX over here?
So you can, but it was just ideal for me to take it when I moved here. You would be definitely given sort of, I forgot what it's called, but like an authority to test.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure of, but I'm not entirely sure if you can take it there. I think you can. Yeah.
And is there an international exam that you have to take before you move over here?
So different states require a lot of foreign educated nurses to take different kinds of exams. And one of them was CGFNS. I forgot what it stands for, but it was like a 400 or 600 question test.
Wow.
I actually took it twice because I just wanted to take it the first time. Like, I'm like, it's just easy. I know this. Nope. I had to prepare for it. And it's exactly why I didn't prepare for it, because I thought that and the NCLEX were basically the same thing, but they're not. NCLEX is like, 125 questions, pass at 75. But this one was like 400, and I was like exhausted in the middle of it. Yeah.
And those are all nursing questions that you're being asked in that exam?
Absolutely. So tough. I know some of the non-compact states require you to take the CGFNS. So I did CGFNS. I had to take the IELTS. I had to do the IELTS. I think it was online-based one. Yeah.
So California would be included in that list, then you would have to take that exam for California.
I doubt it. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's only 2 as of that fiasco in 2012 where they kind of pulled back a little bit in hiring foreign educated nurses from the Philippines.
Yes.
Yeah. As of like that time, they only allow, foreign educated nurses from 2 different schools in the Philippines. So it's getting harder and harder. Like I would love to move to California. Like my husband and I are looking at San Diego. We're like, we can't afford it. But also it's going to be hard to move because they're going to want you to go back to school to finish up some something in the curriculum.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Because if you come to California and you have less than a year of experience, they require a lab for microbiology. But if you have more than a year of experience, you actually don't need that lab. So a lot of people have asked me that in the past. And that's one thing that I have to mention every time is that you don't need the lab if you have more than a year of experience. But, if you're being trained in another country and you're coming to, like you said, every state is going to be different. So you have to look at the Board of Nursing for every state that you're applying to make sure that you meet all of the requirements. But where are you currently living right now?
I live in Houston, Texas. I work in a large teaching hospital. When I moved here, I didn't know what was in store for me. I didn't know that I was going to be working in one of the largest, if not the largest medical center in the world. It has about 50 hospitals in the medical center, and I work with one of the top. I'm really proud of that.
Wow. Okay, so then let's go back and let's bring ourselves to the present. Mm-hmm. So when you first got to the U.S., how did you manage to land the job?
It was tough, actually. It was tough because I didn't have nursing experience either from the Philippines or here. So I started out as a CNA, a nursing assistant in a nursing home. And eventually when I passed my boards, the NCLEX, they absorbed me to become one of the RNs. And I did that. And as soon as I, had enough experience, I had to leave and got into a hospital. And that just kind of like snowballed into getting to where I am now.
I see. And how long did you work as a CNA before you became an RN over here, a licensed RN over here?
Yeah, very brief, about 3-4 months.
Oh, that's pretty quick.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and do you remember how much you were earning as a CNA and then as an RN in that home?
I do, because I have that same first paycheck. It was my first paycheck from the States, so I have it saved. It was $10.72
Wow.
an hour. Yeah.
Gosh, that's painful.
2013. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And then as an RN, how much were you earning?
I remember vaguely it was somewhere around 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was in Wisconsin, correct?
This was in Wisconsin in a nursing home.
Okay. And were you paying rent at the time, or were you still living with family at this time?
I did live with family. The only bill I had was basically my car note, which was like, I don't know, 100, 150. And then my phone bill, which was like $30. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a family plan.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how long did you last in this nursing home before you decided to make a move?
Oh, it only took me a little less than 2 years until I finally got a hospital job. And it was not within the city. I had to go to the suburbs for somebody to, hey, hire me. I have this experience. Yeah.
But this is what I tell everybody, because everybody assumes that if you're applying for a job and you don't get a job, it's because you're unlucky. It's not necessarily that. It's just you're just not applying for enough places to work at.
Correct.
You should be willing to move far or work far if that's what it takes for you to get a job.
Exactly.
So how long did you have to commute to get to this next job?
It was a little over 45 minutes, I remember. I would sometimes, because I didn't get my own place at the time to live where the hospital was, and I had to drive back home before shift, after shift. It was 45 minutes, and it was, in the middle of winter sometimes. Not fun.
Yeah. So did you not like your experience in a nursing home? What was your reasoning for wanting to leave?
So I think at the time, and this is what I, talk about with my clients and, a lot of new grads and a lot of new nurses, is that they're so afraid to go against the grain of, wanting to get into the ICU or the ED. Like, that's the pinnacle of nursing is what we consider it. But then, at that time, I didn't know that, I didn't know better, because all I wanted to do was get into a hospital, get that ICU experience. And then I thought that would catapult me into all these other amazing things, which it did. But if you're dead set on something, that kind of limits your options. And, nursing has a ton of amazing non-traditional nursing specialties. There's forensics nursing. There's, you could work for a medical device company, insurance, pick nursing, which is what I do full time.
Yeah.
But I wish I knew not to pigeonhole myself, so early on in my career.
Yeah. So how long did it take you from the moment you started applying to this job as an ICU nurse to the moment you actually got a job offer?
I think from the nursing home, right?
Yes. So you were applying for ICU jobs specifically in the nursing home?
Yes, no, I wasn't. So I knew that I had to get to maybe an acute care floor.
I see.
And that's what I did. I got. It maybe took like 3 months.
Okay.
After seeing that I did have a little bit of experience, and then from there I moved on to the ICU.
So you're hearing it here for you guys that are watching this video. If you're working in a nursing home and you think it's impossible to go from a nursing home to an acute care facility, look. Jumer did it, so you can do it too. And you're not the only one, Jumer. Like, I know so many nurses who have gone from the nursing home to the acute care facilities in the hospitals, and they've gone and transitioned to like management and different positions in other hospitals. So, I mean, you can do it. You just got to put yourself out there and make yourself known. Otherwise, nobody's going to know that you want a position in another facility. Right?
Exactly.
So you got this job offer, and then how long was the training? Because you've never worked in the ICU before. This is new to you. Did they give you 3 months, 6 months of training before they let you off on your own?
So when I jumped into the ICU, I did have about a year of experience in the acute care floor. And then that ICU training was pretty solid 3 months, I remember. And then I was buddied with somebody, partnered with somebody, and it was nights. So it was like easier to kind of get into the flow of things and really learn on your own pace. But the buddy system truly helped, because then I knew that I had a resource that's probably right next to me or across the hallway that I could just grab for, something.
Yeah. And how much were you making in that position?
When I left, I don't remember exactly how much when I started, but when I left, this was in Austin. I made 2017. I made 27 something an hour in a cardiac ICU, CVICU.
I see. And you were working 312s per week?
312s. Yep.
All night shift.
On nights.
Okay. And then why did you leave that position?
We were fortunate that my husband had a job offered in Houston.
And is he a nurse too?
No, he's in telecommunications.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he had a job offer, and knowing that a nurse can work basically anywhere, I had to move with him. And it's been 7 years now, and it's fantastic.
Wow. So did you just apply as soon as you found out that he wanted to move and he got a job offer?
Yes.
So how long did it take for you to get that job offer after you started applying?
It was quick. It was a hot commodity because I had that experience, CVICU, I guess nights, but it was as soon as I put that on my resume, it was marketable. It was solid. I had like 5 different not job offers, but like interviews right off the bat, just uploading everything. And at the time, I just wanted to get a job. I didn't know exactly what kind of ICU I wanted to get into, but I just really needed something. And I was fortunate that that's when it opened up the doors for me to get into this teaching hospital that I am with now.
And why did you choose that hospital over any other hospital?
They are, number one, a teaching hospital. Knowing that they're a teaching hospital, they will have a ton of resources. I want to be a part of something that, makes sure that the employees grow within the hospital. There's a career path for the nurses, and you will have utmost support in terms of like maybe skills and your career.
Now, did this hospital have a union? Or
No, they don't.
Have you ever worked at a hospital that has a union?
Nope.
I see. Wow. Yeah. When
I've heard some great things.
Because I've spoken to several nurses, and most nurses have never worked in a union represented hospital. But when I worked in New York, most hospitals in New York do have unions. Many hospitals in California, most of them actually have unions as well. But a lot of the hospitals in the South and in the Midwest do not have unions. So I always want to compare experiences between working in a non-union hospital and a unionized hospital. So how much was the starting salary then when you got that job?
I remember that 27, it was pretty significant because I remember having like a couple extra hundred a paycheck.
Wow.
So it was like maybe, I don't remember, 34, 35. I'm 27, which was fantastic. Yeah.
So when you got this job offer, did you immediately accept it, or did you ask them to give you a couple of weeks or months to accept the offer?
So because we were in the process of moving, I just said yes to everything and then interviewed. And then it was just perfect timing. They wanted to see me when we were kind of like house hunting.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and it was a great interview. It was, you can feel the culture from the interview, and it was just, the vibes were right, and I jumped right on in.
And did they offer a relocation bonus?
Absolutely. They did. Oh, no, sorry. The ICU one did, but this one didn't.
So the ICU one in Wisconsin?
Yes, because, no, sorry, in Austin. From Wisconsin. So when they knew that I was moving from out of state, they did give me some relocation.
Okay, so was that the one that you interviewed for, and you said while you were there, you interviewed for it and they offered you a position, or was this a different one?
This is in Houston, the one that offered me the position.
Okay, I see. But you had the interview while you were in Houston, correct?
When I was visiting, yes.
While you were visiting in Houston. Yeah. Okay. And then they gave you the job offer. Did you ask for a relocation bonus, or did they just give it to you?
So that at the time I didn't know any better, and I just wanted to move. I just wanted a job. I was just, I wanted to have a job as soon as my, husband, started his. So it was just like, I'll take it.
Wow. Okay. And what unit were you working on in Houston when you first started?
I started out in the cardiac ICU. I was there for maybe 5-6 years, and then the pandemic hit, and then.
Okay, so the pandemic hit. How were you guys affected? Did you guys lose your jobs? Did you have any pay cuts?
So we were very fortunate that we were, fully staffed at the time. We did become, coming from a super high device kind of unit, As a cardiac ICU, you have all these, contraptions, all these devices, and then all of a sudden that just gets thrown out the window because everybody's being proned, everybody's on ARDS protocol, everybody's tubed, everybody's sedated. So we were learning kind of, protocols on the fly. We were not learning things on the fly. We knew these things. It was just that everybody, I'm sure you understand, you were learning things right on the spot. Yeah. And it was terrifying because, watching the news and all of that, the time came when we just kind of stopped keeping up and just focused on the work. But job security was there, definitely needed us. They opened up. We became the dedicated COVID ICU, one of the dedicated COVID ICUs. We had a medical ICU, and then they opened up us because of the overflow and some other units. And it was amazing how much and how quickly they were able to get everybody on board and execute some plans.
I see. I'm surprised you didn't take the route of wanting to become a CRNA since you already had all that critical care experience.
I tried. I didn't want to move out of state, for one. And I knew to get into the programs in Houston, it was going to be so competitive, like so incredibly competitive. And plus, I didn't want to take org chem and possibly a GRE. So there's that. I just, I love bedside. At the time, I did love bedside so much. Absolutely.
So how long did you work in that position before you moved on to something else?
A little after the pandemic, like 6 or 9 months into the pandemic, burnt out kicked in, and it was time. And at the time, I was nearing 10 years of, being a nurse, and I really, really wanted to switch gears and find something new. And a PIC position opened, a PIC nurse position opened within the hospital. And I, knew somebody that knew someone, and I got in at the right time because the need for vascular access at the time was just like, it blew up. Like everybody was needing PICs, everybody was needing midlines, and they needed to have more people on board. And, at the time they thought it was just going to be, one nurse, but then it was like, one nurse after the other was hired, and we just grew into an amazing team of like 13 nurses now.
Wow. Okay, so one question, because there's some viewers that watch this channel who are not nurses yet.
Yeah.
They don't know what a PIC nurse is. They don't know what midlines are. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could have a whole entire course or lecture about this because I'm very, very passionate about it. So I am a vascular access nurse, also known as a PIC nurse. What I do and where you can find me is either in the hospital or in the community. So majority of PIC teams are in the hospital. They place PIC lines and midlines and sometimes difficult ultrasound guided PIVs. PIC lines are essentially long IVs that are inserted at the top of the arm right here, and the tip of it ends in the largest vein of your body, and that large vein can handle any kind of medication that you need. And it takes a specialized training to place these lines, and that's where the PIC nurses come in, because this is all we do all day, every day. And there's also that midline, which is the shorter version of it. Basically, it's longer than a PIV, but it's shorter than that PIC line, and it ends about right here. So the insertion point would be right here, ends right here. So it's the middle of the line.
It sounds like that would be a position I would love to be in, because right now, like I work in the ER.
Yeah.
I got my ultrasound guided IV certification, and
there you go.
I'm always inserting ultrasound guided IVs. Like it is my favorite thing to do while I'm at work.
It's absolutely fun. And once you have that in you and that dexterity, is just, it's impossible not to play with it or have fun with it. And the best PIC nurses are truly the ones that already have their ultrasound guided experience or start IVs, because the freehand skills, they're irreplaceable. They're fantastic.
So how long have you been doing that for now?
It's been 2 years now, coming up on 3 next March. Yeah.
And do you do training too? Like, do you train other nurses on how to do it as well? Or are you just focused on placing the lines?
There's not much opportunities, especially in Houston or in Texas, to do that. I know that there are businesses where they are run by PIC nurses and they train to certify them. But in my current role, we are limited to in placing them only. But, whenever there's an opportunity to teach somebody, I always go the extra mile to do that.
And how many hours a week are you working?
I work 36 hours, 72 biweekly.
Is it also nights, or are you on day shift now?
So we operate 7 to 7, and it's days only. We don't have, I know some of the vascular access teams have 24-hour coverage, but we only operate 12 hours a day.
Wow. And like, do you know how much you're making now? I'm sure you probably do.
Yeah, I do. And it didn't take me long to break six figures once I got to a couple years where I got into this hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, how much do you pay for your rent or your mortgage?
We pay, and this is going to be frowned upon because it's almost like a mortgage. We pay $2,500 for our 3-bed too. It's 1,300 square foot.
That's not too bad.
I mean,
this is New York though. I'm saying like, that's not bad at all.
Jason, are you from Northern or Southern California?
I am in Northern California.
There you go. But still, like, you understand. Like, it's not a whole lot, but it is when you're here.
You are right. I have to put that into perspective. Like, if you are in Houston and you're not making $100 an hour,
exactly,
it adds up.
Yep.
But I'm sure you're in a location that you really enjoy living in.
Yeah, absolutely. We are right in the middle of things. Before this, we actually owned a home. And we are mortified for like the next 10, 20 years. We don't want to own a home. It's a lot. It was the dream at the time. We, achieved that dream, but it was a lot of nightmare, especially that last freeze that we had about 2 years ago. Yeah, it was a money pit.
Wow. Can you go into detail? I want to know more about this because I know that was all over the news.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Let me know what happened. What was going on at the time that you had to sell the house?
The pandemic basically pushed us to get out of renting. We wanted to have privacy. We wanted to, have a space where you can have a backyard and just chill. And we have a dog, so that's how millennials do it. They buy houses for their dogs. And, the freeze happened a little after the pandemic, and I remember just kind of walking into the garage, and the powers went out. I hear something pop, and it was the pipes, the horizontal pipes in the living room, in the kitchen, in the garage, and it was just freaking out. I didn't know where my water line was. I didn't know if I had, the power went out, if I actually had to turn off the breaker, like these homeowner things. And it was just like, a year into homeowning, we don't need to know everything yet. But I wish I did. And thankfully, my husband was home at the time, and we were out of power for like maybe 3-4 days. It was on and off sporadically. And we had to basically move into a friend's house for a while. We were trying to basically stay warm, and we had a dog, and it was a lot. It was a lot.
That must have been traumatizing. Just
yeah.
And all the money that you must have spent to try to get everything repaired.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure that must have cost tens of thousands of dollars.
And I'm happy to share that we finally paid that off. About last year. Was it last year? Yes, that was last year. From all of that stuff, we've consolidated some stuff too, because they offered some payment plans and all of that. And it was just a great feeling to really detach from that idea of home ownership, and then at the same time knock out the debt that you had.
Yeah. I'm surprised that FEMA was not involved in like reimbursing homeowners for things like that, because I'm sure you're not the only one that was affected in that way. And then and there's people that also died because of the weather.
Absolutely.
So you decided to sell your house because of all the trouble that you were going through with it. So you lived there for what, like 1-2 years?
3 years, 2020, 22, 23, we moved out and got this apartment in, I believe, March. So
did you end up selling the house for more than you paid for it?
Yeah, we made some profit out of it. Nothing crazy, but it was just enough and a little bit extra to, put in a high yield savings and an investment. So it was just cathartic. Let me say that.
So has your rent gone up dramatically since you first moved into that location?
Oh, not yet. We just moved here in about how many months?
Oh,
6 months ago. Yeah, 6 months ago. So we're on standby for that because we don't know yet. We don't know. We have, oh my gosh, we have 12-foot ceilings, and our power bill has skyrocketed. But it's nice to have tall
I
ceilings.
know. I love that. It makes the place look a lot larger than it actually is.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like we have 10-foot ceilings in our house right
Hmm.
now, but before we moved into this house, we were looking at a house that had 20-foot ceilings.
Oh my gosh.
And it would have been perfect, but it was just the house
Yeah,
overall was too small for us.
yeah.
With like 3 bedrooms, and we currently have like 4.5 bedrooms.
Hmm.
But yeah, so all right, so now you've been living here for about 6 months or so. What are you doing presently besides your current job?
I am an Instagram coach for nurses. I didn't exactly know how I wanted to package the whole being a coach. I, tried a lot of things. It was a journey of trial and error, but when I finally hired this business coach and we really dug deep into how I want to help and who I want to help, it was right at the core. It was going to be nurses that want to monetize, their Instagram and their expertise. And I saw that lack, and I want to bridge that gap to be able to help other nurses see their creative potential outside of just making potluck flyers or posters.
So, were you in Instagram and growing a following before you got into all of this?
Yeah, I was, but it was, throwing spaghetti at a wall and just hoping something lands.
Mhm.
And finally, like I mentioned earlier, that business coach really put things into perspective. And that's what I want to share and be able to help other nurses transform themselves into just like, I know you want something, but how do we get to that something when you don't have a plan? And that's where I come in, is where we come up with a plan.
Let's see. And how did you find this business coach?
She reached out to me on Instagram. I didn't have that much following at the time, so I didn't get a whole lot of traction from strangers, from people, from clients. And now I've just broken, like 2 days ago, I've broken 50K.
Wow.
On Instagram. And, yeah, thank you. And I think at the time when we met, I only had like maybe 40K. Still, it's a lot. But she just like said all these things that I, looked past this whole time, and that was enough. Things that I looked past within, what I did was enough to basically make something out of. And it's just exciting that, I get to share that kind of mindset with other nurses.
So I've interviewed several nurses in the past who have paid for mentoring, coaching, courses. I just interviewed a nurse a few days ago who said that she paid $50,000 for her first mentorship.
Yeah.
But she quit her job. She is now making anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 a month profit.
A month.
Yes, a month. And now she values so much her ability to use that money to invest in more coaching and mentorship programs, because she said that investing in herself has helped her grow so much more than working at a 9-to-5 job, at a W-2 job. Because, when you work at a W-2 job, the only way to make extra money is to just put in more time.
Correct.
But when you work for yourself, the best way to invest in yourself is by having other people guide you through the process, because then it reduces the amount of time that you have to work on something in order to get that money back. Right. So do you remember how much you paid for this business coach?
It was actually for free.
What?
It was Jason, the things that have happened this year, just, by putting myself out there and really shifting the mindset of I have to do this to I get to do this, really changed it up for me. Like, I had access to all these things. It's just that no one teaches you that you do have access to that. But this was gifted for free. In exchange, I will be speaking in one of her higher ticket coaching classes, master class about Instagram growth, which is basically what I do.
That's pretty smart, because I know that's usually the best way to market yourself, is when you reach out to someone that you can help and actually give them results, and then use their testimonials as marketing for your own business. So that's pretty cool, though, that she's doing that for free.
I know. She was like, this worked before, and I see potential in you. And I'm like, I just basically cried. It was great. It was a great opportunity to, have that.
Yeah. So have you had any clients yet since you started your coaching program?
Absolutely. They're trickling in now because back then I kind of had a different niche. I was helping out nurse estheticians and nurse that own med spas, kind of transform their Instagram and the face of it and create a lead magnet, all of that. And now it's just that, I didn't have so much experience in that, which, it took time for me to realize you have no say in that. But, it was Instagram growth and I did help them get results. But when I really honed in on what I wanted to do and who I wanted to help, it's just so much easier now to get clients than before. It was, cold emails, cold DMs, and now it's just they're just coming to you, knocking at your door.
This is why, I don't know if you know who Dan Henry is, but
yes, I follow him on YouTube.
Yeah, but he goes so heavy on telling his customers and his clients, do not try to teach or sell something that you have not done yourself.
Correct.
Right. So now the fact that you have 50,000 followers on Instagram, it gives you more credibility to, and especially because you just went from 40,000 to 50,000 in no time.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that you're able to grow so fast, now it's okay, I have the proof is in the pudding, right? So I can show you how to do this. So you have a website now where people can actually go and reach out to you and sign up for your mentorship program? Or is it a mentorship program or is it a course?
So right now I am in the very early stages of coming up with a course. Right now I work one-to-one, but I want to be able to stretch the program out to one-to-many. And that, in that way, that would be possible with a course.
Yeah.
So I am in the early stages of brainstorming for my course. I have an outline, but I just need to package it and be able to successfully launch it.
I see. See, that's what this previous nurse that I interviewed paid $50,000 for.
My goodness. I have, that is 50,000 times what I actually, I'm investing.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to find the right people, and you will feel that with that. I think 50K is too much, unless you're doing some sort of I don't know how people are familiar with evergreen kind of funnel where it's, yeah, I can see that. But, to begin with, that's insane.
But, so that was just the first investment. Then she spent $25,000 on another person and $15,000 on the most recent one. But she said actually the one that she spent $15,000 on was the one that had one of the biggest impacts on her business. So you never know who you might find that might be a little bit more in the ballpark, boat. So I don't know. We'll see. You just got to keep looking, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why you got to get to those master classes. Feel the vibe, get the vibe of the room and see if it's the right fit for you.
So what is your goal with the business monetarily, financially? What are you looking to make on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis? I know the goal is to help other nurses grow because that's what we all want.
Exactly.
I talk to nurses all the time. I'm not selling a course, right? But when I make these videos on YouTube, it's because I want nurses to be the best person they can possibly be without feeling like they're enslaved to an employer. And then when you're selling this course or this program, you want nurses to succeed, right? But at the same time, as they're succeeding, you also need to benefit in some way from that because you can't do this for free. Nobody's going to do work for free. So what is your financial goal with this, let's say in 1 year to 5 years from now?
I truly believe that the true wealth is in freedom in terms of time. And, wealth in every sense of the word is wealth. Yeah. Wealth of time, wealth of, family relationships. And that is the goal. I want to be able to, I have control of my time now, but I want to maximize it. And as a creative, I, working bedside truly dimmed that light in me. And I didn't know that I, had all these things, that I had all these skills that were just dimmed down because I'm always exhausted, because I'm always just, trying to recover from the last shift or the last 3 of 3, stretch. So what I wanted to share is that transformation of, hey, you're going to be able to do it while you're still working your 312s if you have a strategy of maybe batching content and maybe, coming up with a strategy that will enable you to have more freedom, because not everyone wants to start out, oh, I want to quit my job right away. Some nurses like me, love our full-time gig. Like, I don't see myself quitting in the next 5 years or maybe 10 years. But, you want to supplement. And I think what hopefully my reach is going to go in terms of who I want to, help is nurses that don't want to quit because they have something good going for them.
Yeah, I agree. Because when I started the YouTube channel, my goal was to educate nurses first and foremost. Like, I want nurses to realize, because I live in Northern California, and nurses across the country don't realize the amount of money that you can make out here, even when you take the cost of living into account. Because I mention it all the time. My wife and I were bringing in anywhere from $17,000 to $20,000 per month after taxes. And our cost of living, we're only spending, this includes like preschool for our son, which we're spending like $1,300 a month on, and our mortgage and all of our utilities and everything, we're spending about $7,000 per month. And then we still have $13,000 left over every month. So I try to educate nurses and tell them that it's possible to make that much money, but you have to be willing to take risks. And that risk includes maybe leaving your extended family in another state to come and move out here, make extra money to the point where you pay off all your debt, maybe buy a house, increase your income, save money, invest money. And then when you make enough, you can just go back home. And that's what I try to tell a lot of people, because a lot of people are miserable across the country. A lot of nurses are miserable, and they feel like they're just burning themselves out. They're overworking themselves, and they're not making enough money. So you need to, like, what you do for them is actually really important, because people don't realize how well you can monetize social media.
Exactly.
So even like, I know a nurse that made $12,000 last month on Instagram alone. There's another nurse that made $32,000 on TikTok last month. I'm trying to get her on one of the episodes, but that's just the potential of social media. And we live in an age where if you do something like that, you can live in another country and work on your social media.
Right.
That's how easy it is these days, right? And, being a nurse, it opens up so many doors for you, not just at the bedside, right? There's, like you mentioned before, there's so many different positions you can work in. And in addition to that, because of our nursing knowledge, we can then bring it into social media and monetize that as well.
That's true what you said. That's why travel nursing, even though it's so tempting to do it, I wanted to choose the level of hard I want to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to move every 13 weeks? I'm married. We have a dog, but I want the comfort of my own bed. I want to come home to my husband. I want to be comfortable, and I'm okay versus not having, a crazy $150 an hour contract versus this where I'm having fun. I get to be creative, and, it keeps me sane. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, but, it's doable.
So if you can give me some tips for nurses that are trying to start their social media account and want to grow fast. Because, it's one thing to tell somebody how to do it. But when you provide a mentorship program, you are guiding them step by step. So you're helping them implement some, these things that will get them to success. So, but you telling us doesn't mean that people are going to take action, right? But I want to know some of the tips that you might give other people to grow their social media following.
Number one is to really know your why. It took me a long time to figure out what exactly my why was, and I peeled back like a couple layers of the why, and that last layer was the real why. And the number one why could be, for money, for this and that. For a lot of people is to monetize. But when you peel back more layers, it becomes a personal mission. And, you were a nurse, you're solving your own problem. And that's the why, basically. And I knew that I knew enough to monetize what I know, but no one was teaching me how to do that, or, give me a blueprint or a framework that I could work off of that worked. But number one is to know your why. And if you're already, like, say for instance, I used to work in a nursing home, and you could easily post about your journey as, how you got there, and maybe share some tips as a lead magnet of, how to effectively, chart for like 30 residents, or, med pass that takes like 30 minutes because you've developed a system. It could be as easy as that. And then you could go as more comprehensive as you can be if you're in a different specialty. Like, I'm working right now with a nurse practitioner who I did a quick audit of her Instagram, and I didn't know, and no one knew that she had two high ticket offers. Basically, she's coaching clients in terms of like pharmacology and their medications, and then she also takes clients to counsel them in terms of like maybe behavior CBT or something like that. And it was nowhere to be found. It's not on her reels, it's not on her landing page, it's nowhere to be found. It's just so easy to make sure that it gets seen, that it is visible, and you really have to talk about what you have to offer and find a way that it gets visible.
So your whole feed should be about you talking about what you can provide to people and what
Absolutely
benefit it is to them. Like, again, this is something that Dan Henry does all the time. He's like a master at it.
Yeah.
And like your feed, every single reel that you upload needs to be about what it is that you do and why people should be trusting in you to provide some sort of gateway for them to make more money. So like, for example, let's say you talk about like how you work as a PIC nurse. You can talk about the steps it takes to insert our Pickline. You can talk about the step-by-step process to do that. And if you do that in every reel and you talk about like the complications of having a Pickline and things like that, then people know that you are a professional who works with inserting Picklines and that you can teach others how to do it. Right? So then you can monetize something like that because you're always talking about it and people can trust that you know what you're doing, right? So it goes with any different profession. Like let's say you're a nurse who works at a med spa business. I've interviewed med spa business owners, and all they talk about is their med spa business and how much money they make in their med spa business, how many of their clients who also wanted to start their own med spa business are earning now. So constantly talking about what it is that you do, what business you run, will allow other people to realize what it is that you will be able to provide to them, right? So that's what you do on your Instagram account, because I looked through your reels, and I'm like, okay, I can see it. There's a theme here. There's a theme.
But it's not salesy.
No.
You can't do that because they'll feel it. And then you really truly have to establish authority that you know what you're doing and that you can deliver. Because when you push it right there, at the end of the day, no one wants to be sold anything. But if you provide value and nurture them, then you can attract and convert.
Yeah, makes sense. So how can people reach out to you? I know you have an Instagram account. Is there a website? And what is your Instagram?
All my socials are at Jumer Adalin, Jumeradalin. I'm in the process of revamping everything because of this course. So a new landing page, a new sales page.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, then make sure you click on this playlist here and follow us for more.